Welcome to Smart to Fish Wild, the podcast where we talk about the intersection of the outdoors and building a meaningful, well-intentioned life. I'm Mark Candler, outdoorsman, Colorado native, fly fisherman, skier, and wealth manager. Each week, I have the opportunity to sit down with people who have a passion for the outdoors and talk about where this intersects with the rest of their life and the meaning they get from it. Today, I'm joined by Melissa DeMarie, owner of California Watersport Collective, a paddling organization, and also executive director of a fantastic nonprofit called Riverbound. Today, we're going to talk about how paddling in the outdoors intersects with leadership and legacy and shapes perspectives and outcomes. Sit back and enjoy this. And thank you for watching Smart to Fish Wild. So what do you love doing in your spare time, your off time, or is work also your hobby?
I happen to be one of the fortunate people in the world that my career is also my passion, which is also what I like to do in my free time. It's also my joy. So, part of what I do in part of my normal schedule is to make sure that I schedule in time to paddle just for myself. So outside of coaching, classes, guiding clients, things like that. So, because it can be a slippery slope when you do the thing that's your joy and your passion also for work. But, I think that over the years I've managed to strike a really good balance in it. I've been working in the industry for over 20 years. So, I was pretty practiced by the time I started my own company. Even though those first few years were a bit tricky, it's pretty easy as a small business to be consumed by the business. And then after a few years of that, I realized that I had to put it into my schedule. Like, okay, I call it free paddling. You're free paddling today.
That is so amazing. That is awesome. Do you have much free time with all the responsibility running the company?
Every year that, the revenue increases, I tend to restructure slightly, sort of year after year. And this last year, I hired, a full-time assistant who does most of the administrative work and other duties that helps actually give me more free time to do the things that I'm you know good at. And part of that is having a bit of free time, because for quite a few years there was no free time, and now it's there, which is amazing. And having this assistant has just been invaluable. And I could
Wow.
say it's worth every penny. And I don't know how I did it without her. One of my staff said to me this summer, they're like, wow, it's pretty impressive that she's working full time and you're still working full time. And before you had her, you were doing all those jobs. Like, how did you do it? I don't know. But you look at some of the timestamps on my emails, and there's some really odd hours. It's like sent at 4 a.m., sent at 1 a.m.
Oh,
So, yeah, I think it's easy to, because the job never ends when you're the, and the reality is you can have the best staff in the world, but, no one's going to put in the hours like the owner does, which is fine. And there's a lot of days that I'll be texting with my assistant at 9 p.m. and then finally I look at the clock and I go, you need to stop working. Like, what are you doing right now? She's like, oh no, it's fine. So, but yeah, that's helped a lot, and understanding how to restructure, to sort of fit the needs of the company and then also my personal needs.
yeah. Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. Have you guys used AI at all in terms of efficiency or becoming a little bit more streamlined?
You know, the classes, trips, and clinics that we offer are so customized. On that end, I think it would be pretty tricky. The small things that we use for if we need to write, a quick description of something, it definitely helps. Helps with, things that um, I want to rephrase this better, something like that. But, I'm also a writer. And so for the most part, I enjoy doing most of the writing myself.
Yeah.
It's a good way to keep my brain active. I embrace AI, and that's just where we're at. But I also realize that if I were to become reliant on it too often, I think a part of that brain would deteriorate a little bit. So I'm determined to stay sharp. And like I said, having an assistant, having good staff helps my workload immensely. And so it does free me up to be able to write these descriptions or to write the articles or blog posts or things like that.
How do you guys market? How do you draw in clientele around the world?
So I built it really by word of mouth. And I think that has really helped build the community that we've built with between Cali Collective and Riverbound. Obviously, social media, having a good, strong social media presence helps. I think overall, especially Instagram, we don't see a lot of conversion in terms of people that like our posts and reels on Instagram are the ones that necessarily take classes, but it does, I think, provide us still sort of industry cred.
Yeah.
And, and it does help because there's a lot of coaches and instructors out there and it is completely their call and totally up to them. But majority of the paddling that they do is when they're at work. And it's like I said earlier, it's kind of easy to fall into that trap. You spend all day on the water and you don't want to, you want to be drying your day off. Whereas the staff that I have are, as somebody put to me, all relevant kayakers, meaning that they're all out there pushing it. They're pushing their limits, they're pushing the sport, and, they're staying on, sort of the cutting edge of, what's going on in the paddle sports world. And I think that really gives us an edge in terms of marketing in our client base because people want to learn from people that are still doing it. Not to fall into that trap of, those who can't teach. And then it also helps the instructors because when we're out there with beginners, advanced beginners, we all can draw from a place that may have just been a couple of days ago, thinking, oh, hey, I was just on this really challenging section of river. I was scared. I had to dig deep into all my fear management techniques. And all of that is really fresh in my mind. And so when I'm teaching a beginner, I'm easily in that headspace of what it feels like to be nervous, to be afraid, and how to manage and mitigate those fears. I think that's one way that social media does help us in terms of marketing, is that it shows people that, we're still all out there doing it. A lot of us are on different teams and things like that. So, but really, I think we show up pretty well, in searches and things like that. We have all 5-star Google reviews and things like that. So I think that's helpful when people go and search and they look for reviews. And again, but I think that still in the end is word of mouth because it's our clients that come, that have a great time and express that via Google reviews or other reviews.
So you guys are doing fine. I mean, if you could grow it with additional clientele and double or triple your business, would that be a goal for you, or you're happy with where you're at?
I think there's always room for growth. One of the products that we offer are corporate C-suite offsite retreats and things like that. We've done 2-3 day beginner kayak clinics for different companies and corporations because it's a really great team building venue because you have to work individually and as a team. You're in a challenging dynamic environment. You have to use a lot of the problem solving skills, group management, things like that. So I would really love to be able to do more of those. Anytime we've done those, we've gotten really great feedback. But yeah, I mean, you can always grow, right?
Yeah. Well, obviously the revenue for those must be, I guess, easier to charge a higher price tag for some of these corporate trips.
Yeah, I think that, yeah, a bit, because everything, like I said, everything that we do is really customizable. And so they can choose from, the number of days, if they want food included, do they want yoga, do they want a massage therapist there in the evenings, do they want a happy hour? And so there's a lot of different items that we can add on to a clinic, a 2 or 3 day clinic. Camping, do they want camping gear, do they want lodging? So, and then the other thing with those are generally midweek. Weekends, we're sold out for weeks in advance, but midweek can be a little quieter even in the summertime. And so I think having more of those company trips would backfill into the not so busy days, Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays.
Yeah. Do you have any marketing programs specifically towards the decision makers of corporations that plan those trips?
I worked with a business coach this year, and one of the things that we worked on a lot in our strategy and our marketing strategy was sort of identifying the three main types of companies that would be good fit, whose sort of values align with what we offer and what we do, and coming up with a good, clear, concise pitch to be able to connect with them. So yeah, that is the current project I'm working on.
No.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, that's where all the revenue would be, those
Mm-hmm.
midweek corporate trips.
Yep. Yep.
Well, that's
So
that's really interesting. So, how uh, do you see yourself doing this in 10 years and 15 years?
oh, definitely.
Doing it
I
forever?
think oh yeah, I could see the scope of my work shifting throughout the years. But this is what I want to do, especially I think hitting a couple benchmarks like the 10-year anniversary of my company, 20 years in the industry. This year has been very reflective for me on, okay, these are the last 10, 20 years. What do I want my next 10, 20 years to look like? And so, and on a lot of levels, a majority of my income comes from me being an athlete. And I know that doesn't last forever. I'm aware that we're
Right.
mortal. And, while I'm still stoked to run big waterfalls and, get out kayaking 250 days a year, I know that we can't stop time. And so one of the reasons that I brought on my assistant is it's allowing me time and space to diversify a bit more. I would like to focus more. Part of what I'm doing this winter is I'm focusing a lot of my writing. There's a book that I'm working on and another book that I have notes drafted for. So I'd like to at least finish one of those sort of by the end of the winter and see where that takes me. I've done a few speaking engagements. I really enjoy doing that, so I could see myself doing more of that. And so this year I'm looking to hire, I have program directors for stand-up paddleboarding and for sea kayaking. Those programs run themselves, which is really great. I still drive the whitewater program, but I think part of my next shift is going to be pulling out of daily operations. And to do that, I need to hire an operations manager. So I can still be there. I can still coach when I want. I can still be, at our base. I can still spend time with the clients and my staff, but not be bogged down with counting paddles and life jackets and things like that and making sure all the helmets have buckles on them.
Yeah.
Yeah. And my nonprofit, I've been learning a lot about the nonprofit world and learning how to write grants and things like that. And so, staying within the scope of what I already do, but maybe shifting slightly. Mhm. I had a very big intensive shoulder surgery a few years ago that put me out for a bit, and I definitely realized like, ooh, I have all of my eggs in one basket right now. And so, yeah, so looking at the future, I want to keep doing what I'm doing, but I have to do it in a way that's going to give me longevity and that's going to be really sustainable.
Very, very cool. Very cool. So do you feel like you're gonna be involved forever, like into your 80s?
Yeah, I think so. And again, like I said, things shift over time, but I couldn't imagine. I think I'm always gonna be involved in some capacity. Some of the other people that I work with and organizations that I work as, more in an advisor or a mentor. And I can see stepping into more of those roles in the future. It's something that I really enjoy doing, and feel good that somebody else is doing the work. I'm just giving them a little bit of guidance on how to do it.
Yeah, very, very cool. That is awesome. So, I apologize, I didn't look. Where exactly in California are you?
So I'm in Lotus, which, as a crow flies, I'm about halfway between Sacramento and Lake Tahoe.
Okay.
Hmm.
That's a
Yeah.
gorgeous area, isn't it?
Oh, it's beautiful in the Sierra Nevada foothills. It's
Wow.
absolutely stunning. We got wine country, beautiful rivers. The Sierras are an hour away, but yeah,
Great
it's.
fly fishing in every direction, I would assume.
Hmm. Yep.
Wow. That's amazing. That is amazing. Well, yeah, what would you like to discuss?
Well, I'm curious about your podcast. What's your ideas? What do you want to do with it?
Yeah, well, I guess it's a little ironic you're not into water sports and not into fly fishing. So, I mean, that's a great question. I love people, very extroverted, outgoing person. Like to, just kind of experience the world and experience people. Fly fishing in the outdoors is my heaven and where I want to be. And I just love relating to people. It doesn't necessarily have to be specifically fly fishing or rafting rivers to catch fish, et cetera, et cetera. But I just think there's a lot of analogies and a lot of synchronicity between, in my case, comparing fly fishing to, the real world, what you learn in fly fishing, and I'm sure what you learn in kayaking, as it relates to some of your corporate trips, certainly relates to, intelligent decisions and team building, et cetera, like that. So I kind of like to, I'm kind of launching this as a way to speak with people in what have the outdoors done for them? What have their experiences done for them in terms of translating to vision and strategy in other areas of life? And what have you learned? And how does that relate? Does that make any sense at all?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. Do people say that to you? Passionate kayakers are like relating, you know, conquering a huge class 4, class 5 river. They're scared of nothing. They feel like they can accomplish anything in other facets of their life.
Yeah. I think I think that's the draw for a lot of people, and they don't realize that that's why they're doing what they're doing, because all of the skills and things that you do when you're on the river is transferable to everyday life. You put yourself in a challenging situation, you do something that's hard, you do something that's scary, and you come out the other side and you think, wow, okay, if I just did that, I can do anything. And I think over the years, myself, my friends, our students have all experienced the same thing of, hey, wow, and I do it all the time. I'll be nervous about something. I'll go, oh, shoot, well, I ran Fantasy Falls. I can do it, because you have a lot of courage in yourself. And what I really enjoy about what I do is providing that platform and providing essentially a safety net for people to push into these uncomfortable places, push themselves to a place where they're nervous, but there's a safety net. And taking someone to that place is, it's invaluable, because whether they continue to kayak and run rivers, or they're like, okay, that just wasn't for me, but I did it, they're still going to carry that forward with them, and it's going to help you in life. It's going to help you with family. It's going to help you with business, knowing that you can step up to something that scares you and train yourself. Because at the end of the day, fighting fear is a practice, just like we practice everything else. our golf swing, our tennis swing, our swimming technique, whatever it is. And so the more that we train ourselves to fight fears rather than retreat from them is just going to set us up to fight bigger and bigger fears and bigger things that come to us. By, bringing people onto the river, into the ocean, on a kayak, on a paddleboard, whatever it is, and being there for them, being like, hey, this is scary, we got you, but you have to do this yourself. You have to paddle your own boat, and helping them train themselves to step up to fear instead of retreat from it. And so really building in that practice. And so I think over time, when you do it more and more, you're so much better equipped to deal with, the more challenging things that come into your life. So I think that's been really important.
You articulate that very well. That was awesome.
Thank you.
Very cool. Very cool. Yeah, and this actually overlaps with we run a very human focused and, very, wealth management practice and financial advising. And I think I'm either one of the first advisors, either foolish enough or bold enough to, really go after the perspective that, financial planning doesn't have to be miserable or ominous or even boring because, it can help people, simply be more efficient and have more time to do what they love. So I love working with people who have a passion for the outdoors and simply want more time to spend in the outdoors. And what's happening with AI and working with virtual assistants, etc. It's pretty easy to get people on a path to live life, do what they want to do, and gain control of their financial fears and, really live life to the fullest. Does that make any sense at all?
Oh, it does. Yeah. I looked you up.
Oh, you looked me up.
I was trying to figure out what the connection was. I was like, is this a side project? So I was trying to figure out what the connection was.
Did you see our webpage? Silver Oak, Colorado.
Mm-hmm.
Do you like the fly fishing astronaut?
I don't remember. It was a week ago or so. I looked.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. So, what is anything frustrating you financially in relation to the business that you're running?
I think that the system is not set up for small businesses. It's incredibly expensive and cost prohibitive to run a small business in the States right now, especially in California. Self-employment tax is astronomical. So, and then I think that just the overhead of running essentially an adventure outings company, my liability insurance, the permitting, the workers' comp, like I said, self-employment tax, payroll taxes, the system is not set up for small businesses like me, which makes it challenging. I have an IRA and a long-term high yield savings account, but I definitely notice that there are times of the year when things are due, that I'll have to dip into at least that savings, which is frustrating, which is also why I'm trying to diversify.
Yeah, yeah. Well, yeah, is there anything we could help you out with, on a personal basis, financially? Anything frustrating you? Like, obviously paying too much in taxes is one.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel like you're as organized and, aware, like from a budget perspective of kind of optimizing the efficiency in what you're doing?
I think it's tricky because because I look at other schools and things, and while I'm definitely on the higher end price wise, especially in the Western US, I think my sort of regular paddle sports schools, we're definitely on the high end in terms of costs and tuition and things like that for students. I also pay on the high end, but I also don't want to price myself out. I think that we get the clients that we get because we get the clients that aren't trying to pay $20 less. We want we have the clients that want us, and that's great. All of our equipment is new. Our instructors are happy. They're well dressed. They eat well. They're paid well. So yeah, sometimes I feel like I'm stuck a little bit in that space where there's only so high I can go without really pricing myself. Because the reality is that if I was teaching ski lessons at a resort, my friends that coach skiing are like, wow, you're so cheap. I'm like, but that's like, I'm on the high end of what people are charging, so it's because it's niche, because at the end of the day, it's something everybody can get on a bike. Everybody can get on a pair of skis. For people to sit in a piece of plastic and go down rapids is not quite
Yeah.
not quite as intuitive. And so, I think that can be really frustrating. I do, my international trips do really well. This year we added Italy, and we had 2 sold out trips. And one of my clients asked me, she's like, this is so amazing. This is such a great value. I'm like, oh, gosh, I thought it was so expensive. So yeah, it's tricky. I think if I pushed my pricing any higher, I might sort of price myself out. And I don't want to play the game of going lower and compromise others.
Correct me if I'm totally off base, but let me add, for your corporate trips, what percentage of capacity do you think you're at for that? Like, weekday 2 to 3 day trips with corporate teams. Are you at like 20%, 30%, 10%?
I'm not even close to capacity with the corporate trips. I would like to see more of those. I think a lot of it is, and which is why I went to get some more business coaching specifically for that aspect. I think adding that and having that really consistent would do a lot.
Yeah. Well, hey, stop me if I'm totally going down the wrong path here. But the company that I'm using to start this podcast series they do both virtual assistants and they do AI. I guess for whatever it's worth, I've just been incredibly impressed with, the way they work. And I'm just wondering if there would be any attraction to, in other words, they're able to, scrape from a million different sources. And I'm just looking at the world through your lenses of, trying to find the people that are organizing corporate trips, are organizing leadership trips, and potentially having a specific, super targeted, super niche, LinkedIn strategy run by a virtual assistant to go after that market. Mm-hmm. Is that anything you've ever considered?
I think that could make sense. I think that AI pulling from the whole internet and in seconds and being able to compile lists and things like that, I think that would be helpful.
That's not something that you're specifically targeting right now?
I have not, no.
Yeah. What was that a useful train of thought?
I think so.
It's not my company, and I'm not involved with it. I'm not selling that to you. I'm just saying I personally have been extremely impressed by them. Mm-hmm. Our larger company, Maya Wealth, has used this company for a bunch of virtual assistants, and they've been, there's been a miss here and there, but they've been overall extremely, extremely pleased with, what they've been able to produce. And I'm just trying to look at the world through your eyes. It's like, to find your financial freedom, I think it would be, and tell me I'm wrong, it's just really filling more of those corporate trips.
Yeah, definitely. I really think that's the key. And that was when I was working with this coach over the summer. That was the thing that we talked about the most. That's what I told her that I think is a big key. Because, at the end of the day, I have a great product, it's a great product, it's relevant, and it is actually very beneficial for teams and companies and corporations because it does all these things, and so I think for me, a lot of the difficulty is talking to the right person. We all have, how full our inboxes are, all my different email accounts. sometimes things just fall through the cracks, or I don't recognize a name, or something just looks like somebody's trying to sell me something, and it's easy to just sort of skim past it or file it away or delete it before I even delved into it. And so for me, it's like getting past that first point, getting in the gate is, I think, the trickiest part, because once I have an opportunity to talk to someone, once I have an opportunity for them to, talk to past clients. I mean, you can talk to past clients, read reviews, things like that, but it's still, it's like I said, it's not a boat tour on the lake, or it's not a, even like a rafting trip. It's definitely something really specialized. And so I think that's probably like, which is why I spent the time and the money and the effort to get this extra coaching, because I need to figure out how to get this product in front of the right people. It's just finding I have a list. So I've been waiting. It's like I said, this is transition time for me. So I finished my, last year I came back from Chile. I was here for 6 weeks. Then I ran my trips in Europe. Then I came back here. Then I ran trips in Idaho. Then I came back here. And now I have a month free before I go back to Chile. So the figuring out how to get in front of these companies is the next big project that I'm working on.
Okay. Well, hey, certainly if you say no to this question, no worries whatsoever. But would you want an introduction to Andrew Hathaway, who runs the virtual assistant and AI company that I'm using?
I think about it. See if it's something that's, what's the name of the company?
Freedom AI and Virtual Assist. He's the owner of both those companies.
It's pretty funny. I did a podcast last year around this time with someone that was also asking a lot about AI and things like this.
Oh, okay. Well, ironically, that's not my business, but yeah, I mean, is there anything that we could do to help you? When I say we, Silver Oak Wealth Planning, and here's just a couple of areas. Have you ever really run a like retirement plan of kind of where you're at now, where you'd like to be down the road?
Yeah. I'm using a platform now that I don't have to think about much. I have all really low risk stuff and things that I can take money out of if I need to. Like I said, the joys of running a small business.
Yeah. Okay. So, no investment review or anything like that? You feel like you're
Not
good
really.
with?
No, I haven't really had anything like that, no.
Okay. Any interest to do that or?
Just what gets generated on my platform based on what I have invested right now.
Okay. So you're happy with where you're at right now?
I think if I found that big bag of money and I could invest it into something, that would be amazing.
Got it. But you got to find that big bag first.
Yep.
Okay. Well, let me know if you find that big bag.
Okay.
If you win
Yeah,
the
I'm always on the hunt for it. I'm always looking
you win
around.
that Powerball,
Ugh,
we're here.
I know, right?
Yeah, our software is so intelligent, you can just keep adding zeros to it, and it
Nice.
still works the same. Doesn't matter if you have a million or a billion, it all works the same. Or 100,000 or 10,000. It's
Right.
just all zeros.
Yep. True.
So, well, yeah, you know how to find me. You've got my LinkedIn, you've got my contact information, etc.
Yep. Yep.
Okay. Well, yeah, certainly reach out to me if if you would want to just do 15, 20-minute conversation with Andrew in terms
Okay.
of a specific targeted program to go after increasing those corporate trips,
Okay.
what that would involve.
Okay.
Yeah, and it was delightful to talk to you, and I hope you don't feel like I completely and totally wasted your time. Or did I?
Oh no. It's always good. I like to give new podcasts a chance sometimes.
You're very sweet to do that. I really appreciate it.
Got to remember to hit record.
Hit record earlier. Yeah, there's actually Yanez as a virtual assistant that's on the line with us. So Yeah, apologies for that.
No worries.
Well, it was really a pleasure to speak, and I wish you the very best. And yeah, if I fall on a big pile of money, I'll be calling you, and I'll see you down in Chile
Awesome.
or
Well,
over in North.
we'll take you fly fishing then.
Nice,
I'll set you up with someone really good.
excellent. I'll just get one of those little rod cases I can fit in the kayak.
Perfect.